Many teachers, especially in rural settings, find that they have classes with a variety of English skills exhibited by their students. This course is set to examine how we can adapt activities for a multi-level classroom. Instead of providing many activities for all the students, we're going to look at some strategies that we can use to adapt one activity to use with the students regardless of their English competency skills. In this course, we're going to look at what a multi-level classroom looks like. We'll also look at pair work, equal ability and mixed ability and their examples, group work, equal ability and mixed ability and their examples, as well as whole class activities. Often, a class is comprised of students that are operating at the same or close to the same level. In a multi-level classroom, what happens is that the students are operating at different competency levels in the skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Have you ever taught a class like that before? I'd like you to pause the video and come up with some words or phrases that describe your experience. Maybe you came up with words like three-ring circus, inefficient, taking up too much time, and maybe if you were honest, you might have said never again in your life. But I'm hoping that we can find some different phrases for you to use by the end of this video to describe a positive feeling towards multi-level teaching. Let's take a look at some variables that contribute to a multi-level classroom. We have previous educational backgrounds. Some students come to the classroom with a formal educational background. This puts them in a different spot than those who have had little formal education, or perhaps their education has been interrupted by life's experiences. Cultural expectations also play into it, how they view the teacher, and some are more comfortable with a teacher-centered environment as opposed to a learner-centered environment. Next is the Roman alphabet. Some students come from countries where the letters or characters are different than the English alphabet. Learning a new set of alphabet characters may affect a student's ability to participate optimally in the classroom. Next is motivation. Questions that a teacher needs to ask are, why are the students coming to class? What is the reason for them to learn English? What is their specific goal? The more specific a student can be about their goals for learning English, the more motivated he or she will be to attend the class. The next is learning styles. The teacher should endeavor to find out what the student's preferred learning style is, whether it's visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Often what happens is that the teacher will teach in their own preferred learning style, such as if a teacher is a visual learner, they will often teach in a visual way, which is great for the visual learning student. However, it is a little bit more of a struggle for those who are auditory or kinesthetic learners. Can activities and classroom instructions be accommodating to the different styles of learning? The next is age. Often in a classroom, you will find that you have a variety of ages from younger to older. Younger students will often bring flexibility and are more adaptable within the classroom, while older students bring along wisdom and experience to the classroom setting. Next, we'll look at personal situations. These are the types of questions that you might ask yourself. Why are they coming to class? What is their personality? Are they refugees? Are they willing to participate? Are they more shy, outgoing? Are they willing to take risks and make mistakes? We have discussed a few variables that happen within the classroom. I'd like you to pause the video now and think about the variables that you experience in your classroom right now. Let's take a look at some activities that we can use in a multi-level classroom. The first is pair work. We're going to put students in equal ability pairs or like ability. That's when we put two students together that have the same competencies in the skill being worked on. This allows for the greatest of verbal interaction and collaboration. It makes the most use of your time. The structure of these tasks is that everyone has the same task but different requirements. For example, you may put 2 lower level students together and they complete 10 questions, where 2 higher level students will be together and complete 20. Another example would be pictures. 2 lower level students would be paired together and they would look at the pictures and maybe discuss with some vocabulary words, whereas the higher level students would have to actually tell about the picture in sentence form. Another activity would be interviews. The lower level students would have the questions written out and there would be more WH type questions, where 2 higher level students would have to have expanded type questions in order to draw out more detail. In staying with pair work, we can also place 2 students together with mixed ability, or sometimes we call this cross ability. That means that the competency levels experienced by both students are different. We can place the more demanding language learning skills on the higher level student, but the lower level students can still be in charge. One example would be a dictation. Have the lower level student dictate the words to the higher level student and check the grammar or spelling point. Listening. Have one source for listening, and the higher level students would have to fill in the blanks with the words that they hear, whereas the lower level student would have the word written out and maybe match with a picture. And another one would be a photo story. Have the lower level student tell the story based on the pictures, and the higher level student would write out the story. I'd like you to pause the video for a moment and think about your favorite activity that you would like to use and how you can accommodate that for pair work in a multi-level classroom. Let's take a look at some group work activities. But before we look at specific examples, let's see how we can put students into groups. Of course, we can randomly select students and place them into groups. However, in Jill Bell's book, Teaching Multi-Level Classes in ESL, she describes a matrix. Please note that this matrix is for the teacher only. Students do not see this at all. Let's take a look at what this might look like. The teacher ranks the students' abilities and places them on a grid from lowest to highest. For example, on this grid, Juan has the lowest ability in the class, whereas Maria would have the highest. Each student would then be given a color and a letter name. If the teacher would like to assemble the students in groups of equal ability, the teacher will call out the letter name. For example, all the A's together and all the B's. If the teacher would like to assemble the students in groups of cross ability, the teacher will call out the color. For example, all the reds together or all the blues. Perhaps your class is not as easily divided. Then you have 2 lower level students act as a team together, or you can have 1 higher level student going between 2 groups. In equal ability groups, each person in the group will have similar or equal ability levels. Everyone in that group will have the same task. However, each group may have different requirements for the task. The focus of the task is accuracy. For example, everyone will have the same topic for reading, but each group will have a different reading according to the levels. Another example of reading would be that everyone has the same reading, but the lower level students will have WH questions for reading comprehension, while the higher level students will have more expanded type questions for comprehension. Another example would be collaborative writing. In this case, the students would all have the same topic, but the lower level students would be writing formulaic type sentences or using specific vocabulary. It's very structured, whereas the higher level students would have the freedom of writing a paragraph. In mixed ability group work, each member of the group has a different competency level. Therefore, each member must be given a task where their contribution is tangible. The focus of the task is fluency. One example would be discussions. It's important for the lower level students to be able to write out agree or disagree statements before offering them to the group. Also, having them write out some vocabulary words that would be used in the discussion is important. Other activities that can be used would be jigsaw readings as well as sequencing stories. For jigsaw readings, use the matrix that we used before. Place the students in their color groups, so red, green, blue, and yellow are in each group. Give each group a portion of the reading. Together they go over the reading, look at the vocabulary, any pronunciation, and comprehension questions. The teacher will then number each member of the group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now reorder those groups. All the ones will come together. All the twos will come together. This newly formed group has one member of each of the older groups, and they each contain a portion of the reading. In order to complete the task, I need everybody in that group to answer the questions. It doesn't matter what level they are, whether they're higher or lower. Each needs to contribute. I'd like you to pause the video now and think about one of your favorite group activities. How can you adapt this for a multi-level classroom? Although pair and group activities are necessary in a multi-level classroom, it is important to begin and end with something that joins the whole class together. It makes them feel like they're part of a community. Use activities that level the students so that they're all on the same playing field. Activities that focus on vocabulary and pronunciation are good examples. One example of a pronunciation activity is using minimal pair sounds. This is when there's only one sound that will change in the word, and the students must differentiate between those two sounds. The student would have a chart similar to this one placed in front of them, and someone will pick a path to vocalize. The students will follow along on the chart based on the sounds they have heard. The goal is that the students will arrive at the same number. Let's give it a try. We will start off with bill, checks, wrist, pin, fell. The path should end with number 10. Other unifying tasks could be communicative activities such as games, board games, flashcards. Or the class could engage in some type of project. For example, if a school has a garage sale, have the higher level students be in charge of answering questions, advertising, making posters, whereas the lower level students would be in charge of pricing the items and placing them on the tables. Another project could be a newsletter. Have the higher level students type out the story of the lower level students. Put pictures with the stories and be in charge of distribution. Those newsletters then can be used in the classrooms as reading activities. We have seen the many variables that create a multi-level classroom setting. We've also taken a look at examples of pair work and group work when placing equal abilities together and mixed abilities together. Lastly, we've also taken a look at whole class activities that we can begin and end the class with. Hopefully you can see that multi-level teaching can be fun, can be invigorating, and allows you to tap into your creativity for some exciting lesson plans.